looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. Continuing our journey into the depths of the human psyche, tonight we turn our attention to another towering figure, a thinker who initially walked alongside Freud, but ultimately charted his own unique and profoundly influential course, Carl Gustav Jung. If Freud saw dreams as the royal road to the personal unconscious and its repressed desires, Jung perceived a far vaster, more intricate landscape. For him, dreams were not merely repositories of personal life debris, but dynamic portals opening onto ancient wisdom, a shared psychic inheritance of humankind, the collective unconscious. Tonight, we delve into Jung's distinctive perspective on dreams, viewing them as inner compasses, psychological regulators, and echoes from our ancestral past. What you are about to discover may fundamentally shift how you perceive the role of your nightly dramas, seeing them not just as reflections but as active guides on the path toward wholeness and self-realization, a process Jung termed individuation. One of the most fundamental and perhaps accessible concepts in Jung's dream theory is their compensatory function. Unlike Freud, who focused heavily on how dreams fulfill repressed wishes from the past, Jung believed a primary role of dreams is to maintain psychological equilibrium. He envisioned the psyche as a self-regulating system, much like the physical body constantly strives for homeostasis. When our conscious attitude becomes too one-sided, too rigid, or neglects crucial aspects of our being, the unconscious, primarily through dreams, attempts to compensate for this imbalance. Imagine consciousness as the captain steering a ship across the ocean. If the captain focuses solely on one direction, ignoring what's happening on the opposite side or beneath the surface, the ship risks veering off course or encountering hidden dangers. Dreams, in Jung's view, are like vital signals from the crew below deck or from the ocean itself, pointing out what the conscious captain is missing. They bring forth information, feelings, or perspectives that are contrary to the dominant conscious attitude, aiming to restore balance and integrity to the entire vessel of the psyche. This compensation can manifest in various ways. A classic example involves the person who lives too rationally, too logically, perhaps priding themselves on emotional control and objective detachment. Such an individual might begin having dreams saturated with intense emotion, dreams of uncontrollable weeping, visions of powerful and awe-inspiring natural forces, or encounters filled with irrational passion. These dreams aren't necessarily wish fulfillments to lose control in the Freudian sense, but rather the psyche's attempt to compensate for the deficiency of the feeling function in conscious life. They effectively say, look, there is a whole world of feeling, intuition, and vitality that you are overlooking or suppressing. Pay attention. Similarly, a person who is excessively timid, always trying to please others and avoid conflict, might dream of angrily shouting at someone or bravely confronting a terrifying situation. This dream compensates for the lack of assertiveness and self-affirmation in consciousness. It isn't necessarily a criticism, but an invitation, an introduction to forgotten or feared inner strength. Someone overly focused on materialism and external success might dream of spiritual figures, numinous encounters, or feelings of deep peace in simple surroundings, compensating for a neglected inner life or a search for deeper meaning. A person stuck in a rut, perhaps feeling life has become stale and predictable, might dream of exotic journeys, unexpected transformations, or encounters with trickster figures who disrupt the status quo, compensating for a lack of spontaneity and novelty. Crucially, Jung saw this compensatory function as not merely negative, not just a critique of the conscious attitude, but as fundamentally constructive. Dreams don't just point out what's wrong, they often present what's missing. They bring forward aspects of the self or the situation that consciousness has ignored. offering a more complete, multifaceted perspective. By paying attention to these compensatory messages, we gain the opportunity to adjust our conscious stance, integrate neglected parts of ourselves, and move closer to a state of psychological balance and wholeness. The dream doesn't necessarily tell us what to do, but it presents the other side of the coin, urging consciousness to take it into account. Ignoring these messages consistently, Jung warned, could lead to increasing psychological tension, neurotic symptoms, or even destructive acting out as the repressed energy seeks an outlet. This naturally leads us to a point of self-reflection. When you consider your recent dreams, especially those that felt strange, confusing, or emotionally potent, what aspect of your waking life might they be attempting to balance? Is there an attitude you hold too rigidly, an emotion you consistently suppress, a potential you are ignoring? Perhaps they are calling attention to neglected relationships, stifled creativity, the need for rest, or a spiritual yearning. Listening to the compensatory voice of the dream is the first step in utilizing it as a natural psychological regulator, a built-in mechanism for self-correction and growth. If the compensatory function connects dreams primarily to our personal conscious life and its imbalances, Jung's concepts of the collective unconscious and the archetypes open up a far deeper dimension, linking us to the shared psychic inheritance of all humanity. This is one of Jung's most unique and influential contributions, taking his theory far beyond the purely personal scope emphasized by Freud. Jung proposed that beneath the layer of the personal unconscious, which contains our own forgotten or repressed experiences, memories, complexes, and emotions, lies a deeper, more universal stratum, the collective unconscious. This isn't a repository formed from individual experience. Rather, it is a psychic legacy inherited from our human and pre-human ancestors, just as we inherit the basic structure of our physical bodies. It contains fundamental patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior, shared psychic potentials common to all people across all cultures and historical periods. He likened it to the accumulated psychic sediment deposited over millennia of human evolution. It's the psychic blueprint of humanity. The fundamental patterns within this collective unconscious are known as archetypes. These are not specific preformed images or ideas, but rather innate tendencies, patterns, or dispositions to experience and represent the world in certain typical ways. They are like invisible psychic structures, or, as Jung sometimes described them, like dry riverbeds, empty and formless in themselves. But when the waters of personal and cultural experience flow through them, they shape that flow, producing similar motifs, symbols, and figures across diverse global cultures. Archetypes express themselves through myths, fairy tales, religious rituals, artistic creations, and with particular potency through our dreams. When archetypes are activated, often during times of significant life transition, crisis, or deep introspection, they appear in our dreams, not just as personal figures, but as images charged with a sense of universal significance and power. Among the key archetypes Jung identified is the shadow, representing the dark side of our personality, containing everything we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves. Repressed desires, weaknesses, negative emotions like greed or rage, unacceptable impulses, and sometimes even positive potentials we fear. In dreams, the shadow often appears as figures of the same sex as the dreamer, who seem dark, menacing, or antagonistic. Encountering the shadow is an invitation to confront and integrate these disowned aspects, a vital, albeit often uncomfortable, step towards wholeness. As Jung famously said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Then there are the Anima and Animus, representing the contrasexual aspect within each individual's psyche, The anima is the inner feminine image within the male psyche, associated with relatedness, emotion, and intuition. The animus is the inner masculine image within the female psyche, linked to reason, assertiveness, and meaning. In dreams, these appear as figures of the opposite sex, reflecting the dreamer's relationship with these inner qualities and influencing their outer relationships. Integrating these archetypes fosters inner balance and healthier connections. Other significant archetypes include the wise old man or wise old woman, great mother, embodying wisdom, guidance, and intuition, often appearing in dreams during times of crisis to offer crucial insight. The persona, our social mask, might appear in dreams related to public exposure or feeling like an imposter, highlighting tensions between our true self and our social role. And central to all is the self, the archetype of wholeness, the organizing principle of the psyche, representing the integration of conscious and unconscious, and the goal of individuation. In dreams, the self is often symbolized by images of totality and perfection, like circles, mandalas, precious stones, or the union of opposites. When these archetypal images surface in our personal dreams, they carry an emotional weight and resonance that feels distinct from purely personal content. They connect our individual struggles to universal human themes. They are echoes from our psychic ancestors, carrying timeless messages. Engaging with these figures through dream work, Jung believed, is essential for growth. So take a moment to reflect. Have you ever encountered figures, creatures, landscapes, or situations in your dreams that felt strangely familiar yet profoundly alien, ancient, mythical, or imbued with a deep, universal significance? Perhaps a mysterious guide, a terrifying monster, an impossible task, or a sacred place. What echoes from our deep collective heritage might these be, and what might they be trying to communicate about your own life's journey? Recognizing the archetypal dimension of dreams can unlock a new level of understanding about ourselves and our connection to the enduring human drama. Beyond compensating for conscious imbalances and manifesting archetypal patterns, Jung proposed further aspects of dreams, suggesting they look not only backward or inward, but also potentially forward, revealing hidden connections between our inner and outer worlds. First is the prospective function of dreams. While Freud primarily saw dreams as determined by the past, Jung believed dreams could also play a role in psychologically preparing us for the future. They aren't necessarily literal prophecies, but rather anticipations, outlines, or rehearsals of potential future developments or necessary psychological adjustments. They function like tentative sketches emerging from the unconscious. Dreams might act as psychological rehearsals, perhaps showing us successfully navigating a future challenge, building confidence, or warning against a destructive path by depicting negative consequences. Jung observed that dreams can present creative solutions or hint at new directions and emerging potentials, like preliminary blueprints for the psychological future, hinting at the inherent directionality, the telos, within the individuation process. The second, perhaps more enigmatic aspect, is the connection between dreams and the phenomenon Jung termed synchronicity. He defined this as the occurrence of meaningful coincidences, where an inner psychic event like a thought, feeling, or dream image corresponds meaningfully with an external event, without any discernible direct causal link. The classic example involved his patient dreaming of a golden scarab beetle, just as a similar real beetle flew into the consulting room window. For Jung, such synchronicities pointed towards a deeper, a causal connecting principle, an underlying unity of psyche and matter, the unus mundus. Dreams, he believed, often bring these connections to our attention. A potent dream image mirrored by an external event can create a startling sense of awe and meaning, feeling like winks from the universe. confirming our path or highlighting a crucial theme. They challenge a purely rational worldview, opening us to a more interconnected reality. Pause again and consider. Have there been dreams in your life that seemed uncannily predictive, preparatory, or that coincided strangely and meaningfully with external events? A dream of a friend just before meeting them, a recurring symbol suddenly appearing. These moments might reveal something profound about the deeper connections between your inner world and the universe, with dreams acting as potential bridges. For Carl Jung, then, dreams were far from being mere psychic flotsam or simply expressions of repressed desires. Instead, he saw them as a vital, constantly flowing source of guidance, healing, and impetus for personal growth. For the lifelong journey towards wholeness, he called individuation. They are crucial, sometimes urgent, communications from the deepest, wisest part of our being, from what he termed the self, the coordinating center of the total psyche. Dreams accomplish this through multiple functions. They compensate for the one-sidedness of consciousness, helping us maintain balance. They bring forth archetypal images from the collective unconscious, connecting us to our shared human heritage and ancient wisdom. And they can possess a prospective quality, preparing us for future developments or revealing synchronistic connections between the inner and outer worlds. The ultimate revelation in Jung's dream theory is this: dreams function as an inner compass. It doesn't always point towards the easy or comfortable path, but it consistently points towards balance, growth, and the integration of all parts of ourselves. Light and shadow, masculine and feminine, rational and irrational, personal and collective. Listening to our dreams, engaging in dialogue with their images and symbols is not a passive exercise, but an active participation in the process of becoming the unique individuals we were meant to be. Therefore, instead of dismissing dreams as meaningless, consider approaching them as letters from the depths. We regularly explore such profound topics concerning psychology, spirituality, and personal development here. If you found this exploration of Jung's perspective on dreams valuable, consider subscribing to join us as we continue this dialogue, and we would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Does Jung's view resonate with your own dream experiences? Have you sensed the compensatory function or the presence of archetypes in your dreams? Please share your insights in the comments below. Ultimately, heeding the call from within your own dreams may be one of the most courageous and rewarding acts you can undertake for yourself, a crucial step on the path of discovering and realizing your true potential, guided always by the inner compass, pointing toward wholeness.